All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're breaking down a really provocative webinar that claims to have a systematic, step-by-step path to wealth. It's called the Wealth Algorithm, and the speaker basically says it's a blueprint anyone can follow, especially now in the age of AI.
And wow, he does not waste any time. The webinar literally opens with him throwing this statement at the audience. It's not a question, it's not a suggestion. He presents it as a cold, hard fact. You can tell right away this is going to be confrontational.
So that opening line naturally leads to this, the big question that his entire presentation is built around. The whole premise here is that a stable career, the thing we're all told to want, is actually a dead end. And he's saying there's this other way forward that most people just don't even know exists.
To start answering that, he first needs to really define the problem. He calls it the middle-class trap. And his whole philosophy is built on this idea that, hey, before you can find a solution, you have to truly understand the cage you're in. And for him, that cage is your 9-to-5 job. So to really make his point, he lays out the financial world with these really clear brackets. And you'll see here, the middle class is defined as having a net worth between $100,000 and $1 million. But according to him, this isn't just a level, it's a ceiling. He argues that the entire system of being an employee is designed to keep you right there and no higher.
And here's the fundamental problem, as he sees it. As an employee, you're selling your skills, your time, your human capital to a company for a steady paycheck, right? But you never, ever make money from the actual customer. You're basically a cog in a much larger machine that's making the owners and the shareholders rich.
And listen, he does not mince words about this. The language he uses is incredibly strong, calling employees losers and suckers. His view is that they're just sacrificing their one life to make somebody else wealthy. It's a really blunt assessment, and it's totally designed to shock you out of your comfort zone.
To really drive home this sense of urgency, he uses this really powerful metaphor. He says a corporate job is like being a passenger on the Titanic. It feels huge, it feels unsinkable, totally secure. But his warning is that the iceberg, which is AI and automation, is dead ahead, and most of the people on board have absolutely no idea they need to be looking for a lifeboat.
Okay, but what if you've already seen the iceberg? What if you left your job to start your own business? Well, the speaker argues that even then, you might still be in a trap. And this brings us to his next really important distinction, the huge difference between a service business and a product business. He lays out this super stark contrast here. A service business, think a consultant, a graphic designer, a coach, he says that's basically just creating another job for yourself. Your income is always limited because there are only so many hours in a day. But a product business, now that's a real asset. It can work for you 24/7, it's scalable, and according to him, it is the only real path to financial freedom.
This quote really just hammers the point home, doesn't it? For this speaker, being an entrepreneur isn't just about being your own boss. Not at all. It's about building a system that generates wealth without you having to actively work for it. If you're still trading your time for money, you haven't actually escaped the trap.
So, after painting this pretty bleak picture of jobs and even some types of businesses, he finally pivots to his solution. And this is the absolute core of his entire pitch. It's something he calls the Wealth Algorithm, and it's supposed to be the blueprint for getting out of the trap for good.
He defines this algorithm as a deterministic, step-by-step process. The analogy he loves to use is a cooking recipe. He says you don't need to be some genius chef to succeed. If you just follow the instructions, step by step, exactly as they're written, the outcome is predictable. You'll get the cake.
And here it is, this is the recipe, broken down into 4 key steps. And from his perspective, the sequence here is everything. It all starts with number 1, create a digital product. That's the asset that you actually own. Then, and only then, do you build a marketing system to sell it automatically. Step 3 is the real test, finding product market fit. That just means you've hit a point where the market starts pulling the product from you instead of you having to push it on them. It's proof you've made something people genuinely want. Only after that's done do you move to the final step, getting capital to scale up. His logic is simple. You never ask for money when you just have an idea. You ask for it when you have a proven, working system.
So then the speaker focuses almost all of his remaining energy on that very first step, because he argues it's the one thing that stops pretty much everyone in their tracks.
And he is so adamant about this. Without a digital product, you have nothing. It's that simple.
Your marketing system has nothing to sell, you can't possibly find product market fit, and you definitely can't get any capital. This one action, creating a product you own, is the wall between the middle class and the path to real wealth.
And he stresses that this doesn't have to be some massive, complicated project. He says to start small, start simple. It could be a short 20-page ebook, maybe a 30-minute video course, or even a very basic app. The goal isn't to create a masterpiece, the goal is just to create an asset, even one you sell for a single dollar, just to get the whole algorithm started.
He closes out the entire webinar with this quote, which of course echoes Morpheus from The Matrix. He's positioning himself as the guide who can show you that the path exists, but at the end of the day, he says the choice and all the effort to take that first step, well, that belongs to you. It's a really challenging thought to leave us with, isn't it? Is there really a hidden door? And if there is, what does it actually take to walk through it?